Alright, so to talk about how to find the mode, what I'm going to do is write out the data that we had for the number of times that 12 people have been arrested. So this is going to be the same exact data that I had in the last PowerPoint. We're going to have number of arrests. And so this would be somebody who's arrested twice, somebody who's arrested 1 time, 0 times, 0 times, and so on. So I'm going to write out the same data that I had in the last lecture. And so here we're talking about how to find the mode. Alright, so as I mentioned before, there are 2 main ways that you can find the mode when looking at a set of data. The first way is by eyeballing. So if you're going to just eyeball, what you want to do is look to see which observation appears the most times. In other words, which observation is most common. So if you take a look at these 12 different observations, you want to look for the one that is the most common. And if you go through, you can count them up, and what you'll see is that we have 4 zeros. And so 0 is our most common observation. We have more zeros than we have any other observations. So we have 3 1s, see that? We have 2 2s, 2 4s, 1 3, but we have 4 zeros. So 0 is our most common observation. This means that our mode is 0. And one important thing to note here, because this trips people up sometimes, your mode is the value itself that appears the most times. It's not the number of times it appears. So your mode here would be 0, not 4, even though 0 appears 4 times. As I said before, you can sometimes end up with multiple modes. So for example, if we had a 13th person who had been arrested 1 time, well, now we have 4 zeros, and we also have 4 1s. So with this set of data, with 13 people here, we would have 2 different modes, and our modes would be 0 and 1, because both of them would appear 4 times, and so both of them would be the most common observation. But I'm going to get rid of this guy now. So we're going to come back to this. Okay, so with our original set of data, we have our 12 people, and we have determined that the mode is 0, because we eyeballed it and we saw that 0 appears 4 times, which is more time than any other observation. The other way to find the mode is using a frequency distribution. So in order to demonstrate this, I'm going to write out the frequency distribution that we have for this data. So in our first column, we have number of arrests. In our second column, we have frequency. And here, this is going to be the same thing as last week also. We have number of arrests ranging from 0 to 4, and for frequencies, we have 4 zeros, 3 1s, 2 2s, 1 3, and 2 4s. And we have our total, and our total is 12. So here's our frequency distribution. The way to find a mode in a frequency distribution is to look for the highest number in the frequency column, because the frequency column tells you how many times a particular observation appears in the data. So you can see here, the highest number in our frequency column is 4, and that means that the mode is going to be 0 right here. So we found it 2 different ways. They came out to be the same, as you would expect. So we have 2 different ways to find the mode here. You can either eyeball it and look for the most common observation, or you can put the data in a frequency distribution and look for the highest frequency. Again, because it'll tell you which one of your observations is the most common. Alright, so with that, I'm going to head back to the PowerPoint.